Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about more mature themed monster taming games, and by that I don't necessarily mean games that are just extremely dark for the sake of being dark or extra gory with no real substance. I'm more so talking about games in a similar vein to Shin Megami Tensei, the Thaumaturge, or even games like Palworld, where you're not pigeonholed into the benevolent protagonist archetype, but rather are faced with morally ambiguous decisions, or even in some cases are just straight up not a good person. I think that as the monster taming genre continues to grow and as more and more games are brought forth, a major point of interest for a lot of upcoming developers is going to be maintaining a level of uniqueness for their game. If every game has you set out as a silent protagonist to save the world, quickly games are going to start to become repetitive and tiresome, whereas games that bring forth innovation are starting to get more and more traction. The innovation is not exclusive to making games more mature or making your character a bad guy, but nevertheless, my point stands. We've seen a lot of experimentation with darker games, especially in the Pokemon fan game community, but I will say that there is a line to draw between something that's just simply edgy for the sake of it and something that actually does have a meaningful storyline with more mature tones. Look at the Thaumaturge, for example, a demo of a game we recently played on the channel. This game dives into more mature themes and the darker tendencies of the human psyche without going out of its way to be extra edgy or have unnecessary swearing and gore to compensate for an otherwise immature game masquerading as an adult title by utilizing said themes to artificially age up the experience. Now, I want to make it abundantly clear, I'm not dragging family and kid-friendly monster taming games at all. I definitely think that they play a major role and are even maybe more important than mature monster taming games that are more adult-oriented. However, what I will say is that I feel like there is a definite gap in the genre when it comes to these more mature games. Off the top of my head, I can name dozens of family-oriented monster taming games, from Coromon to Nexomon to Temtem to Monster Sanctuary and more. And even though some of these games do feature mild cursing or maybe some mature undertones, there's no denying that they're far less in line with something like Shin Megami Tensei or the aforementioned Thaumaturge. I think that in general, more variety in the genre is always good, and one way to achieve such variety is through games that challenge the conventional approach that again pigeonholes you into a mostly bubbly world where you're the hero. I feel like even games like Palworld that aren't really super mature still challenge these conventions, and you could even argue that is one of those quote edgy games, but I feel like it's done in such an interesting way, and despite what people might perceive as edginess, the fact that you can shoot and essentially abuse your monsters does strike a much more mature discussion about what these magical worlds filled with Pokemon-esque creatures would be like if mankind was left to deal with them as they would. Games like this explore the darkness that lurks within every single one of us, and I feel like a lot of monster taming games and games in general gloss over the fact that even the average person isn't going to necessarily risk their lives for the greater good or even take the time to help anybody that's in need that would cause even a mild inconvenience. Now, that being said, this is a really short video and I was debating making a video about this topic, but I do feel like it was something that needed to be discussed, and maybe it could inspire some upcoming developers to really shake things up. If things remain the same, it's not like it's the end of the world. We have tons of amazing monster taming games that do follow that hero saves the day and the world is mostly okay minus the one evil organization archetype. And I'm not trying to sit here and act like I'm some intellectually superior person who can't play such a childish game, because I honestly think people that act like they're too mature to play games like Coromon and Nexomon or even Lumion Legacy are actually immature because they take themselves way too seriously. Maturity to me is not about acting in such a way that you can't have fun and joke around or be silly. Maturity to me is being able to lead a meaningful life and endure for the ones that we care about, or those that can find their way in this crazy world. But anyways, guys, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I want Shin Megami Tensei 6, by the way. That'd be dope. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.